did I understand you to say that we're on forecast to have $87 million in additional revenue in estate taxes than forecast? And we had forecast, it appears at around 185 or 190 million. Is that, am I reading the chart correctly? Do you have the ability to break that down from standard estates to the mega estates? I mean, I've heard a lot of conversations with tax planners and folks and all that those standard estates, a lot of those folks are leaving the state in advance to execute their estate stuff because of the estate tax limitation that we have. Can you break that down at all?
Chair Nathanson, Senator Findley, we can, but with a lag. Department of Revenue has updated data through 2017, right? We're not, with some of these largest estates we've seen, particularly in the last month, we don't have the actual return in the door yet. We have the payment process, but we don't have the return itself, let alone process the return and able to analyze it in depth. But to your point, one of the concerns our advisors raise as well is that Oregon's relatively low $1 million threshold for the estate tax. Potentially with a hot housing market, we would ensnare more Oregonians in the estate tax just due to the value of homes breaching $1 million. While that may be true, the share of estate tax payers that are kind of in that $1 or $2 million estate valuation range is pretty steady, right? That isn't really increasing so much. Those that have $2 or $3 or $4 million estates isn't really increasing that much. It's really the $5 million and above, the $10 million and above estates where the tax revenue itself is coming from. And again, it's not so much that there's a lot more folks in this type of bracket, it's that the value of their estates is continuing to increase quite quickly.
Senator Taylor.
Thank you, Chair Nathanson. So do you have data showing, do you have any way of knowing if people are leaving the state? And then, I don't know, so I mean, right before they pass? So that, I mean, is there any way for us to know that? One question. The second question I have is, what is ours is at the $1 million threshold. What is the national average, or do we must have a sense of, we must know what the 50 states are at. I'm just trying to see, are we extreme one way or the other?
On the threshold? I'm sorry.
Yeah, on the threshold.
Chair Nathanson, Senator Taylor, we do have a low threshold. I believe at least 35 states do not have an estate tax. At least that was one of the potential fallouts of some Bush era changes to the federal code, which then kind of got rid of a lot of states. So there's not very many states that actually have an estate or inheritance tax. And our threshold, we're either the lowest in the nation or certainly one of the lowest in the nation. And so whether that impacts migration, I think it's fair to say that it does to a certain degree. I know the Department of Revenue, our friends over there, have done some. If you get federal returns, right, you can match federal returns and know whether someone passed away in Washington that was previously an Oregonian or something like that. I'm not sure what the latest data they have on that, but I know in recent years they have looked at that sort of impact.
The follow-up. So I mean, obviously I understand the argument of why it was, set at 1 million. However, I just want to make certain that we didn't set a threshold and then we end up actually being harmed by that because people are going, if there's going to be a trend going to another state, then that threshold isn't really suiting us very well. I'm just curious about it. That's all.
Yeah, Chair Nathanson, Senator Taylor, again, as Josh mentioned, a lot of our advisors say the estate tax really doesn't make a lot of people move, again, because you can do a lot of management around it, create family trusts and the like, and people don't want to leave their physical estates. If it's a nice house and a ranch and you live there for your, 20, 30 years, you're not ready to go to Vancouver, overnight. So that's an issue. But that said, there are certainly people that move. And in particular, not the estate tax, but where there is a bigger concern here is we're getting the baby boom population cohort hitting their retirement years would be folks who have owned their own business and have a lot of capital gains in terms of their business valuations. And in those cases, I think there's a stronger argument that our tax system might be driving people out.
Interesting. Thank you.